happens a good chunk of the time, but also doesn't happen quite a lot as well. So it's just a funny one where we're like, oh yeah, so this is what they do with this. It's like, well, they do have to draw it in the first place. Felkeine going with, again, I don't want to just say the French lineup, but most importantly, what the lineup looks like if you choose to bring Demon Hunter, which is quite often the Demon Hunter Mage Druid left over there. And Felkeine, like you said, taking the ban on the Warrior, and he isn't one of the players who was bringing the slightly different Zephyr, slower-based Prime Warrior. He is bringing, or did bring, I guess, just straight-up Bomb Warrior with upgrades and everything. So, BoarControl showing that one a little bit more respect this week at least.
It's crunch time, Raven. I can feel it. Boar absolutely needs to win this, crucially for his chances, at least in this opening matchup. Felkeine does not play the Living Dragon Breath in his Druid this week, which I'm sure he has done on at least one occasion previously, when he kind of had the read on Turtle Mages coming out from the opponent. I think it was the week he was up against Wama, where he had a read that was going to happen. He had a very, very heavily teched list altogether, so that massively increases Boar's chances of being able to put together a win here. But that's a Grimace on the opening hand, and I think you just saw a little hint as the scene transitioned there as to what that Grimace might have been about, because Potion of Illusion #1 has come into the hand.
Yeah, as soon as you said that, I wasn't even sure which player you were talking about, because Felkeine's opening hand is not exactly magnificent either, with 2 beasts already in there. There is the Guardian Animals, but then like double crystal power against this deck. If it was against Tempo Mage, then yeah, there are some targets for those cards, but right now, it's going to be a little bit slow, but you are of course right that the implications of already drawing a potion are pretty huge right now.
He does have that Polkelt already, though, so he can choose to put himself on a clock as soon as he would want. And I think, you know, when you do build up some experience with Turtle Mage, this is one of the things you'll start doing, is count how many turns you have, count how many turns you need. Because if you play Polkelt on 4, you can't even start doing turtle things until turn 8, right? So that's 4 draws that you've already got before you can even start activating a win condition. So sometimes, especially when you've already drawn 1 potion here, you do kind of have to offset your Polkelt by a turn or 2, just to give yourself enough time before you get down to drawing that second potion.
It's definitely something I messed up the first few times of Polkelt on curve.
Yeah.
Was not setting up for it either. You know, like for some stupid reason, I was like surprised that my potions were coming out when they were, even though it was, of course, like pretty much exact. And it is difficult. It's not something you do wrong all the time, because obviously you learn the interaction pretty quickly. But it is a little bit tricky, and you see already BoarControl going away from the Polkelt on curve, and as this is not a matchup in which your opponent can shuffle anything into your deck, it does mean once the order has been decided, that is what it's going to be for the rest of the game.
Thanks, Hearthstone's natural sense of dramatic irony. Thanks for the ice barrier.
You're welcome. Yeah, that was Hearthstone.
Yep.
Still not too great here for Felkeine, though. Nature Studies, of course, can always get ramp, but it looks like he's just going to go for the coin into Twilight Runner to have a more realistic outcome of drawing some cards right now.
It's going to get carved up halfway, at least, by this Imprisoned Observer, which does give a condition here if Boar wants to take it with the Arcane Missiles.
If he does go for it, it does make his turn significantly weaker.
Well, what's his turn if he doesn't?
What to do?
Potion?
Well, I think my constant question until it's played is this the Polkelt?
I see, I see.
I think that's just going to be the question for the rest of the game, honestly.
Well, let me actually do the counting then, if we're going to keep answering that question. So he has 2 Turtles still remaining in his deck, 1 Kartut Defender, 1 Blizzard, 1 Jandis. Then he draws the potion. So the potion draw is currently 6 draws away, which means he draws it the turn after he hits 10 mana crystals. That sounds like it's still a little bit too fast for me, although already having the Sun Reaver in his hand, I guess that would always be the case. He'd always have that by the time he got to the Turtles. Yeah, maybe this is just fine.
Even Felkeine, unhappy now. Was not the card he wanted to see.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of duality, right, of this card, is that, yes, BoarControl now knows where he's at. He knows roughly what he's going to draw in the next few turns, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a Carter or a Blizzard on any given turn, that can change, of course.
Yep.
But your opponent also knows. So it's kind of like you're playing with a lot of face-up cards right now.
Yes.
So although Felkeine obviously doesn't want BoarControl to have this strong game plan, Felkeine will be like 99% aware of what can happen on each given turn for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and so the other part of that count that I didn't quite get around to doing, apart from the, how many cards am I going to draw before I hit my potion count, is also just turns that your opponent can do obnoxious things to you. So Boar currently has one Blizzard in his hand, right? So if he plays Polkelt, he knows that he has to stretch that one Blizzard out all the way until he's allowed to cast Turtles for freezes. So that's an important number of turns to count as well, right? And I think this Polkelt play from Boar largely hinges on the fact that he wouldn't just have to immediately Blizzard the next turn, which he was accurate about. He got that one free turn just to play a Kartut Defender, and now that one Blizzard should be plenty just to space Boar out.
I mean, there's even to an extent, because BoarControl might not necessarily want to turtle into all these minions, that he might actually still not have to Blizzard the turn after, which is an extra positive, right?
Oh, Felkeine, hello. Hello? Hello? Yeah, shake your head and laugh is about all you can do there, bud. Yeah, spectacular indeed.
At least Felkaine's laughing, right? And that's the thing. Everyone makes mistakes. It was obviously a pretty bad mistake, but at least he's not letting it crush him, which is probably the worst way to react.
Exactly.
Like, let it crush you once the match is over, right?
Yes.
But for now, it's game number 1. Refocus. Laugh it off and play. It was pretty bad, though.
It was pretty bad indeed. One person who's not laughing at all here, though, is Boar. He is not getting involved in that shenanigans whatsoever. I think Boar 3 or 4 weeks ago might have been emoting back, laughing, making a face at his camera right now or whatever. No, full focus. He knows he absolutely cannot afford to throw this game by getting distracted.
I wonder.
That's the thing as well. Even if you watch a lot of BoarControl's stream, even when he's playing, high legend games or whatever, some practice, he's still pretty jokey a lot of the time. Just having a good time, basically streaming.
Mm-hmm.
But he still takes competing pretty seriously, and he wants to win, right?
Yep.
He's not so blasé about it to be like, nah, I just like playing on stream, and if I lose, I lose. It's like he doesn't really want the whole yes, I went 1-4 or maybe even 1-5 in a season of Grandmasters. That is not something he wants attached to his name going forward. So.
Right.
Yeah, we do see a bit of a different BoarControl in these last couple of weeks.
This is the danger zone now that Boar's committed to the Polkelt line. As I said, this Blizzard is incredibly valuable currency right now. Because if he Blizzards here, he has no way of freezing next turn apart from using the Tortollan. If he uses the Tortollan to freeze, he's not using the Tortollan to potion, which then means if Felkeine can clear the existing Tortollan that's on board that turn, Boar's kind of stuck on the back foot a little bit in terms of being able to both duplicate Tortollans in his hand and freeze the board.
Yeah, this is one of the trickier parts, isn't it? You need that one turn that you can land Tortollan if you're playing it on curve, and be safe and not die. Oh. Does he just go for one and Nova then? He has to, right?
What to do? What to do?
Doesn't have to. He does have options here. That draw was a 50-50, by the way. That was either Kartut or Blizzard this turn. But I do think this is nice because it puts the emphasis back on Felkeine to be able to find an answer. This solves the game. If it lives, it solves the game. So I think this is worth going for.
It's a pretty big answer, though, with the Thresher there.
Yeah. Now, with the threat checked, Boar can now space this out for a turn here if he wants to with the Blizzard, and then go for the 10-mana Tortollan Pilgrim to be able to make sure he's setting things up and duplicating Tortollans in his hand.
Yeah, the difference between 9-mana Tortollans and 10 is worlds apart, isn't it? Because you get to actually get that duplicate in and then freeze safely.
Exactly.
Also now with
however, is that using this second Blizzard slows down Boar winning the game enormously because it deactivates his Sunreaver Warmage. And by deactivating his Sunreaver Warmage, he then just kind of has to try and push the Druid to fatigue, which is very difficult to do if you're on a Polkelt clock to your Potion of Illusion yourself.
So what about Kartuk Ice Barrier? Does that get there? Soaks, you'll presume you'd soak 7?
Yep.
And a hero power? That's 18. Oh, it's probably too risky, isn't it?
Cards out of hand is important, though, which is, I think, why we're seeing that Arcane Missiles get played there first and foremost.
You can't now Barrier and Kartuk, though.
Yeah. So he just decides if he has to commit the War Mage, he might as well just commit the War Mage, right? Or sorry, rather, if he's going to deactivate it, he might as well just commit it. Yeah, I like this.
That's 24?
24 is not 30.
Can't he get... Oh, wait, he's already cast a Blessing, right?
Oh! Blessing with the
Claw!
Claw!
Cast a Blessing.
Double Blessing and the Claw! Oh, no.
You win this.
No, it was lethal anyway. He didn't need the Claw. I thought the Blessing had already been cast once. Okay, also looks confused. I thought the Blessing had been cast once because he'd go to 29 on board, and then just a hero power would have been the 30, I think, there. So, unless I'm missing something, but I thought he needed to fish because it was the second Blessing, not the twin spell. So a huge deal there, Felkeine just grabbing the win in that, one turn window he actually ended up having? Because if there was those 10 mana Tortollan turns going out, then he's going to be freeze for the rest of the game, pretty much, at that point.
Yeah, and I'm kind of weirded out by that last turn from Boar because I'm not sure like the logic that I said out loud actually makes any sense. Where like if you're going to use the War Mage, you might as well deactivate it. Is the other way to turn it around, right? By meaning just cast the Blizzard, be safe, be alive that turn.
The point of keeping the Blizzard was you had the War Mage. If you don't have either of those, the other one doesn't matter anymore, right?
Right. So at that point, like, cast the Blizzard, be alive, and then have your 10-mana Tortollan turn the turn after to start locking the game down. It does create problems either way, because, like I said, the fatigue clock, the potion clock is still there with the Polkelt. Right. He was already down to Kartuk Defender and Blizzard at that point, which left him 1 Jandis, 1 potion as his draws after that. So, sorry, second Sunreaver Warmage, 1 Jandis, 1 potion after that point. So I guess having the second Warmage in his deck is why he chose to do it that way around, right? Because he feels like if he plays the Blizzard, he loses on the potion clock, whereas if he survives 1 turn by using his first Warmage, he still draws the second Warmage and has already got into, like, freeze you permanently with turtles at that point, right? So I guess on further examination of the deck list and the double Warmage list, that's probably where his head was at, but it was a colossal risk to take on that turn. Just to leave that such a small amount of damage needed on the other side.
Yeah, it was definitely tricky, even just from that potential Kartuk Ice Barrier as well. If that would have actually ended up doing enough. Difficult with Brooms, of course, being able to punch through the Kartuk instead. But basically, a lot of tough decisions in actually a short amount of time towards that last few turns of the game. We are going to go to a break while we get ready for our game number 2. And just remember, this is the last series in Europe of the day. So make sure to stay tuned to check it out. We'll be right back.
So there's, how bad is this zombie apocalypse? We're gonna survive or?
Tough one. Oh my god.
For zombie apocalypse, I would take Torben, the Viper. He's pretty strong. I would take Language Hacker. He seems very, very smart. Probably Zilay. Seems like he could, deal with a lot of the threats.
So if there is a zombie apocalypse, I think I would choose. I will definitely not choose Zim or Squid. I don't trust them. I think I will go with BoarControl, Casey, and Gallon. That's the guy I go along with. So
my crew would be Born, Viper, and Bunny.
Bunny is a scientist, so he might find a cure or something like that. Casey can just handle all the zombies with his incredible strength. Thijs can be the bait, and I'll just wait around and help somehow.
We are back with our final series of the day. Already one game in, with Felkeine taking a win in game number 1 over BoarControl in a very small window he had available to him with that Druid against the Turtle Mage. But it does mean we are going to be moving on to that game number 2, and Felkeine's going to be on the Demon Hunter and now going to have to line it up against BoarControl's Druid here. So I feel like we just see this matchup all day, Sol. Like the fact that the Demon Hunter always just randomly runs into the Druid every time. And again, it is going to be a tough one, I think.
Yeah, it's generally not a good look for the Demon Hunter, no matter how many pen flingers you manage to pack in there. Pretty strong matchup overall for the Druid, and Boar does need a recovery point here. I think if he perhaps got the Demon Hunter lined up against the Turtle Mage and ran into a pretty fast start with the no ice barrier list, he might have been in trouble there. Still debating the lines towards the end of the game there from BoarControl, but do apologize for miscounting the number of War Mages he played in his deck. I didn't notice he was playing 2 until way too late, which does add some layers of justification to the sequencing that Boar had there towards the end, since he still had the second War Mage to draw that he could then be activating with the Blizzard.
Here, though, BoarControl is not playing the most standard of Druid lists either.
No.
There's the double brooms in there, the Anubis Defender ×1, the Beast package with Guardian Animals, but there's Kael'thas alongside Forest Warden Omu, and then double Survival of the Fittest and King Feoris as well. I've personally not been too impressed by this list from the bits I've seen, and I have tested it, a few games here and there. Do you have any strong feelings on this one, Sol? Do you think it's targeting anything specific, or do you think it's just planned to be a powerful all-rounder?
I personally don't like it that much either. It appeared on my radar because it was kind of the Open Cup list for a while. It was having a lot of success in the Open Cup qualifiers for the Masters Tours, but then it showed up a little bit in the Masters Tour itself in Montreal and did not have a particularly good performance there. But at that point, a couple of well-known players really picked up on it. Fino being one who was I think christened one of his Druid lists with the fabled Perfect 30 tag, with which King Feoris was one of the cards that he was deeming to be in the perfect list. But personally, no, I'm not a huge fan of this build either.
I'm sure BoarControl is a huge fan of how this game's going so far, though. Taking some damage from these weapons, of course, and the Mouse Slicer equipped now, but having the ramp access means he can go straight into a turn 7, or at least a 7-mana turn, should I say now. And there isn't a Guardian Animals, which he would love to see, of course, but he does still at least just have minions to drop on board uncontested, which I think is pretty important, actually, against Demon Hunter.
Felkeine gives that one a solid not bad out of 10. Doesn't have the perfect curve into Guardian Animals here. Boar will, of course, be fearing the Blade Dance here because he's very much reliant on this card draw. This is arguably worse for him, though, even with the enormous amount of damage that's going to be thrown at his face. Potential for 9 damage on back-to-back turns. That's huge, though.
Is this even an Omu?
I like
Does
it.
protect him against Blade Dance to an extent, especially with the help of the Anubis Defender.
Hard agree.
And this is why we're seeing Omu just included in Druid in general.
Yes.
Right now, it's just a good card.
Exactly. Squeeze it in, get the beasts out of your deck, then draw cards so that you are avoiding drawing the beasts. Ship this damage face at the end. Boar did not hit the one Teacher's Pet in his deck, though, so he currently has no Taunt protection. And this is a decision that we saw made from Rivius, which potentially cost him the game during the APAC broadcast, where he didn't protect himself preemptively from damage with the Anubis Defender, and was then punished by Kane on the follow-up. And this could just be a recipe for the exact same disaster here from Boar. Crucially, Boar does have access to Survival of the Fittest himself.
Right. I think also importantly, you would not expect to die on 6 mana from all this, right?
No.
And if he doesn't get hit hard in the face this turn, then Kane won't be enough next turn either. If there's no Blade Dance, it's just actually a lethal setup.
That's the kicker,
BoarControl.
yeah. That's why I said he has Survival of the
lethal.
Fittest himself. That's the big difference here. Because it means if he doesn't die immediately, he doesn't have to worry about the Kane on the backswing because he just ends the game with the Survival of the Fittest. So I think that makes this a slightly different scenario than the one we saw from Rivius in the previous broadcast.
BoarControl covering his bases there, did have that card draw as well, of course, but not needed with that Survival of the Fittest. And a lightning round from BoarControl there, taking an early win. And Felkeine, I think, just gave it the nod at the final. He's like, yeah, okay, if he has it, yes, I lose. If he doesn't, we can continue. But Felkeine really there just missing out on that Blade Dance. And look at the difference the Omu made and also the Anubis could have made in certain circumstances, right? And it's why we're just seeing them played. And again, the more and more popular Demon Hunter has become, the more and more players have gotten better at playing around what they can do in some of those big blowout turns, such as Blade Dance. So I think that although very, very short and pretty fortunate for BoarControl, I think just the end few turns there were very well executed.
Yes, I would agree, and that was a much-needed victory for Boar as he squares up this crucial relegation decider, really. It's not a head-to-head in the same way that Aerok versus Silvername was, but Boar really wants to be keeping pace. A loss here would not resign him to relegation because of the way the potential 3-way tiebreakers work, but it would put him in serious trouble if things were going to come down to a 2-way tiebreaker, because he currently holds losses to both of the other relegation-threatened players in Division B. So it's crucial for him to keep pace with players around him, and since we just saw one of those players in Aerok go up to a 2-win record, BoarControl wants to keep pace for that going into the final week.
We are going to be moving on to that game number 3, BoarControl on the Priest now. And this is the lower curve Priest we've been seeing gain more popularity. Does have the Twilight Drake in there as well as 2 Cabal Acolytes. And I think, feels a little bit weird to say this, but almost most importantly for me, he is running a Holy Smite in the list, which I think is, the more I see it, or the more I see lists with it cut, the more I miss it. From these Priest lists. I think it is just a very flexible tool to stop some early game pushes running away with you.
Already a tough decision. That is a decent-sized Twilight Drake that he could play on turn 3, since the Wandmaker will replace itself in hand with a card on the following turn. But Evasive Draconid is just Evasive Draconid. It's kind of one of the business minions in this matchup. You can just put down as a taunt that really has to be Blade Danced, because it can't even be Soul Sheared, which is a lot of times the emergency method for Demon Hunter to fight their way through taunt minions without shipping damage into them.
Yep, and Felkeine, not one of the players, or one of the very few, I believe only Psycho is actually playing the Magtheridon in the list. Felkeine going with this Altruis and the double Penflinger.
Yes.
Means that he can't even go for a Magtheridon swing or anything like that. Very, very difficult minion to deal with in general.
Or taking some notes, as he is known to do here, just writing down the contents of his opponent's hand that he learns from this Lazul. Information gathering is kind of an underrated aspect of the Priest class right now. You do get so much information about the contents of your opponent's hand through Madame Lazul, Envoy of Lazul, if you generate it, Mind Vision, Mind Render Elucia, you know, all of these different methods to really gather information on what tools your opponent has.
Yeah, and did go for the Penflinger. I was staring at Skull there. Priest, always nice when it can get hold of extra card draw. And I just wonder how much use BoarControl can actually get from Penflinger, unless his plan is to just like use it to kill Felkeine's Penflinger if it gets left on board. I don't know.
Well, I do think not taking any chip damage from the small minions that come down in the early game and mid game from the Demon Hunter is pretty key to the matchup. And Penflinger with these cheap spells from the Kobold Spellkin does give him an additional way to do that alongside what he has right now, which is just one Holy Smite, right? It's not really enough to be dealing with the kind of board state that he's seeing already here.
I'll have you know it's a Sethic and a Holy Smite, so you never know.
Sure.
but yeah, I 100% take your point. It is the more powerful tool right now, and of course, just looking at how BoarControl's hand has panned out, he is not exactly want for resources right now.
Yeah, so even right now, he can go Sethic, Penflinger, Holy Smite, Penflinger. Same thing with the One Maker as well, to get a full clear this turn.
Yep. Another Holy Smite.
Very nice.
That's insane. He could use this mana for... Okay, do this in trade. Okay, sure.
Yep, it's the full clip.
And to be fair, this Penflinger is just stretching out these resources, right?
Yes.
For BoarControl, because that turn he would have had to probably ended up just double Holy Smiting instead.
Exactly.
But yeah, just get some extra use out here. Also, looking at Felkeine's hand, this Altruis is starting to look pretty monstrous right now. There is Marrow Slicer this turn, if Felkeine wants to go for it. Probably equips it, yeah, okay, equips it afterwards if he wants to kill off this Penflinger. This makes sense. But then he has a huge Blade Dance pretty much whenever he wants going forward now.
Right.
Whoa. He might need a huge Blade Dance as well.
He might need a huge Blade Dance indeed. And it can be done, but there's still a cost here. And the cost is all of these Twin Slices getting used up, not with the Altruis, which is, you know, the Twin Slices are a large part of what's making this Altruis look so powerful in Felkeine's hand right now. Like, does it even net more damage here to just Hero Power hit the Twilight Drake and then Blade Dance? Obviously, you don't dunk all that damage to the face, but you preserve the Twin Slices in your hand with the Altruis. Does that represent more damage over time to do it that way?
I was even if it's like Altruis and then Spirit Jailer, and then trade in. That's I'm just trying to think of him getting to this Skull to actually be able to front load a ton more damage, but that doesn't really add up that well.
Right.
Still, of course, leaves the Twilight Drake up, which is not the best idea. With this, though, he does get to just push 8 damage face. Well, 9, I guess, with the hero power. So I think this is fine. He still has Twin Slice, still has Altruis, still has Skull. The only unfortunate thing is, if Skull and Altruis could just swap places, I think Felkeine would be quite happy.
Evasive Draconid insta-hits the board, and Felkeine is met with the BM Consume Magic off the top as well. If only.
Penflinger's like, can't dodge these. Just give me 7 goes at him, and I'll get there.
Silver Lining for Felkeine knows that even if he doesn't remove it this turn, it can't be an Apotheosis target on the next turn for BoarControl.
What if this is Altruis double Twin Slice? Is that madness?
Does the Altruis part of that play achieve? Unlock the Skull?
Some damage and unlocks the Skull, and Altruis pretty much has to be killed, or you kill your opponent next turn a lot of the time.
That's fair, yeah.
It's not great at all, but I think for the long-term game plan, it actually achieves the most things this turn.
Fling Face, Twin Slice, Minion, Hero Power, and or Spirit Jailer.
Oh, yeah, Hero Power does it with the damage. Yeah. This is nice. Saves the second slice.
Okay. Plans coming together now for Boar. He has Radiance for a little bit of short-term healing to keep himself alive. Does have Holy Smite to be able to clear up this Altruis.
I like the Kaj, though. I think going for Kaj on Altruis is one of the really good targets BoarControl can get hold of. Wait, have we ever seen Altruis and Apotheosis?
We as in GM, I don't think so, but I have seen it on ladder.
Because I want to. Like,
yes.
Yeah. Felkeine unlocking the skull. Should use the skull. And... okay, outcome. Nothing fantastic, but... no whiffs. He didn't get any soul fragments, which is pretty nice. I believe he's still got 2 in the deck from the Marrow Slicer.
He does. He can now unlock this Consume Magic for the left-hand side of his hand, at least for next turn, while not really playing anything of a significant size for the cards to be able to trade into immediately. It would just be the 2 Spirit Jailers hitting the board.
What if he just goes Chaos Strike, Hero Power, and consumes the Kaj anyway?
Okay. I kind of like having that consume magic for the, like, wait for my opponent to put Apotheosis on something, right? Because it's the one hit of Apotheosis you might be able to get through. If it sticks around and you have to trade into it again, that's where things really start to get sticky.
So let's take a look now. So there's 3 damage from Kayn, 2 damage from the second slice, 2 damage from the Chaos Strike, and all these only add up to 5 mana total. So with those Penflingers, Felkeine is getting awfully close right now.
Yeah, there's still this Radiance yet to come into play, though, as well as Pyro Apotheosis combo, even if Boar is never able to drop an Apotheosis on an attacking minion. Cabal heal Radiance seems very reasonable as a baseline this turn. I could also see the argument for Cabal and Apotheosis.
I actually really like the Radiance this turn. Try and make a super wide board and then drop Apotheosis on something. Because not only are you spreading threats then, but also it's just harder to clear up if you've got multiple big minions.
Right.
And with Radiance and a Hero Power this turn, I don't think BoarControl really needs to even play the Apotheosis. Because if Kaj dies, that's still okay, right? Because he has the Altruis inside. I like this a lot. Yeah, okay. Unhappy with the Radiance follow-up there. But well, we know it could have been just as bad anyway with the Apotheosis.
I think he's currently trying to summon some answers out of his deck. Whoa, those were not what he was trying to summon.
At least his last draw wasn't Militia.
Yes.
Because that would have been unfun. Has Felkeine just resigned himself? No Blade Dance, no Shard Shatter, just gotta go face.
Or gets the Consume Magic, though. I think that's a big win for him in this position. Gets the Silence without using his Apotheosis. There's a big upside for you in the matchup.
I think Felkeine has to just go for the weapon this turn.
Demons.
You don't pick the ones.
One Maker. Might give him some more options here.
Okay.
Another Twin Slice. Yeah. Doesn't have to swing. Okay.
Now the Apotheosis might have something to say. Yep.
Yep. It's still manageable. Especially because of just the damage these Penflingers, this extra twin slice is going to create. There's still a ton of damage. Felkeine still has 16... Wait, is he just dead?
Fire cycling off the Sethic here. Holy Smite. Okay, sure. Cycle that too. Inner Fire number 2. Okay, not going to pair one of these Inner Fires with the Apotheosis for the extra healing. Just feeling nice and comfy on 20.
And also, if he's not Apotheosing this turn, then he's just banking the damage now because BoarControl, regardless of him having to survive, he's just setting up lethal.
Mm-hmm. Skull again?
Jeez, he can cast so many cards this turn.
He can. That is a second slice on the far left. So that's 4, 6, 8, 10 damage with the Penflingers in there as well.
Alas, poor warlock.
Lapidary! Chaos Strike!
Jeez. Lethal? Not
7,
this turn, but
9,
it's close.
11,
Such a beautiful
13, 15, 17. Penflingers can't fit them in, not enough mana, okay.
And also, he'll just heal to full.
Yep.
So he's not bothered about the minions anymore. Well, not bothered, but they're not setting up lethal once he swings.
Problem is just how wide this board is. So if he doesn't kill Boar this turn, Boar has Pyro, Apotheosis, and an entire hand of cheap spells to be healing himself back up.
Yeah. Does have the soul share. But I think it's important as well for Felkeine to work with what he's got and not what he wants, right?
Yeah.
If he draw... Oh, was that too slow? Oh, Blade Dance! Did he not cast? Oh!
Didn't see it. Didn't see it.
Wait, did he not attack? He had to attack.
He attacked. He just didn't see the Blade Dance in time.
Oh, that would have made all of the difference.
Six, 11, 14 on board. Certainly the Pyro with the Apotheosis is the maximum amount of healing here, but it does cost him his own board largely in the process as well, which can be a problem here. But the fact that Boar even has a big board here still might just be a throw on the part of Felkeine.
Yeah, the decision-making just has to be faster.
Yeah,
It just has to be.
You see it. Shake of the head. He knows. This board does not have to be here. Screw it. Throw that in as well.
Quickly.
Gonna go face and then death.
I think so.
It actually healed the 3-1 to be fair. Guess he wants to heal on the Pyromancer.
Yeah.
It's the world of difference, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
It's...
He's going to cash out. This does leave his board essentially just straight up dead to these Penflingers, though, which is an issue. This is the downside of the play that Boar has to make, is that he's not sticking a board and threatening lethal anymore, which is a pretty big problem. So now he almost has to reset to just completely fatiguing the remaining damage from Felkeine's deck. He doesn't really have the highest quality hand to be able to do that.
No, and if you'll remember, way back when, maybe 2 minutes ago, I was just saying Felkeine still has a ton of stuff. He has the skull. He had I think he had 15 cards in his hand, in his deck. Sorry, at that point. Now he's got 6, and his twin slices are gone.
These Penflingers, they're just so much extra damage.
They are pretty incredible, aren't they? Like, they always do more damage than you think, even if you think they're going to do a lot. Right? They just always do more.
Yeah. Taunt. Mana Wraith? He's playing minions this game. Doesn't appear to be Boar at this point. Yep, I like it.
Hard counter the Penflingers.
Mm-hmm.
Renew's still got to be big, though. BoarControl's on a whole lot of nothing in his hand right now.
Oh.
Penflinger,
Luminance, the Mana Wraith!
Oh, wow.
Oh, what is happening this game? Fragment. The remainder of the deck is now Sociologist with no fragments remaining, Lapidary with no fragments remaining, and Mystic with no fragments remaining.
It's got the Marrow Slicer, though. So there are kind of 2 fragments remaining.
Yep.
That's it, and that does not make a good militia. Saying that, though, BoarControl does have nothing in his hand right now.
Nope, absolutely nothing. Oh! It continues to be nothing! Why is this so agonizing, Raven?
I don't know, but when your board is a couple of mana wraiths, I guess that's just where we are right now.
Yep. 6 more going to the face. 8 more to come after this from the Marrow Slicer, plus the 2 from the Warblade still.
Or already queued up this Penflinger. Pyromancer. Rubbish right now.
Yep.
Just doesn't cut it.
He's just having to pay 3 mana per Penflinger right now. Like, this is a disaster. How has this game got to this point?
Not many cards left.
Okay. That cannot be played in the same turn as the Marrow Slicer currently, but that's what Felkeine wants to line up. That's why the Marrow Slicer isn't being played, because that's his last source of soul fragments, and he needs them in the deck, or the Lapidary. He needs that damage to count. But in order for that to happen, these Mana Wraiths have to die.
Or he can equip at the end of this turn and hope he doesn't draw them both.
Oh!
Can I interest you?
Knew you were going to say that.
Wait.
Again, I feel so deprived of hearing something stupid whenever that
What if he
happens.
just hits the Mana Wraith and then it goes Marrow Slicer into Shard Shatter, right? Kills one, takes the shield off the other.
Okay.
It does use up 1 shard, which it sucks, but he kind of wins the board. Maybe that's enough? She's gonna play it as a minion?
Yeah.
Okay. These Penflings are like, we cost 3, but we're still getting the work done. Raise Dead. What is there from Raise Dead? Cobalt Felkeine would be huge. And BoarControl has to, right? He can't expect to win this game. He knows what's in the deck, and he knows what's going to be in the hand.
Yeah, he knows. I mean, everything's face up right now. He knows the exact contents. You see him counting right now. He's counting on his fingers the cards that are remaining. So he can devise a line here. His line needs to have both of these Mana Wraiths still alive at the start of the turn.
I think it always starts with the Raise Dead. Oh. Now he wishes he could gain the health back and give him the minions back.
Why did the Raise Dead need to happen? Am I missing something here?
Well, I just think, like, without the Raise Dead, I think his turn's too weak, and there are potential cards to, like, really dig him out of here if he Raise Dead, right?
Okay.
There are so many good cards. I think there's One Makers in there. There's, most important, I think there's Felkeine in there. Has he played Cabal Acolyte this game?
Let me check. He has 2 Cabal Acolytes still remaining in his deck.
Okay, so he's not. No. I guess even the Cabal Shadow Priest could have been played to steal the Penflinger. I don't know.
Like, from my perspective there, like, he felt secure as long as he ended the turn with 2 Mana Wraiths still in play, because then the Marrow Slicer plus Soul Shard Lapidary can't happen. And if they can't happen this turn, can't happen any turn because he just always draws the soul fragments this turn.
I guess. I don't even know what this draw has to be.
Whoa! That's what it needs to be, Raven. It needs to be healing.
So he still knows he can only take, what, 6 next turn as a maximum?
For now.
Oh, and there's the concede. Oh. Wait, was that guaranteed? Was that a fair concede?
Like, he would have to stick a 5/5 as a 5/5 and actually have it attack face at some point, because the hero powers never race each other in any meaningful way, right? Push 1, heal for 2. So you need to stick a 5/5 in some kind of scenario at that point, which maybe you can bank on there. I'm not really sure. But yeah, I'm still kind of lost as to what that raise dead was for from Boar. It felt like he needed to draw healing on that last turn because of the 3 damage he took from the raise dead, whereas otherwise he was potentially like in a relatively solved position. I don't know. Maybe I'm just missing something there, but that one really did boil down. Generally, as games will tend to do when they go to fatigue, everyone kind of has perfect information on what's going on with everything else. So you do kind of devise these complex game plans. But this series so far is fitting for how important it is. Like, this is an absolute nail biter in terms of being a fan of BoarControl, wanting him to be able to hang around.
There's only the cat that seems happy in this scene.
Wanting him to hang around in Grandmasters, and the series is absolutely living up to it right now, because this is one of the most tense series of Hearthstone that I can remember watching in a long time. But remember, that turn where Felkeine did not see the Blade Dance off the top in time to cast it with his remaining 2 mana, I think is the sole reason really we can point to where, you know, maybe the play towards the end was optimal, maybe it wasn't from either side, but it shouldn't have even got to that point if Felkeine had seen that Blade Dance in time.
It's one, I mean, I think we can see from that point onwards, Felkaine's been pretty frustrated just with this series in general.
Yes.
Or with the rest of that game at least. But I think that's one that, regardless of what anyone else says, Felkaine's going to kick himself later on after, you know, once this series is over, he's going to be pretty unhappy with that outcome. Here we go. Nope. This is going to be the Mage, the last deck BoarControl has to take a win here and win this series and keep some form of his Grandmaster's hopes alive.
He's back on the Turtle Mage. Turtle Mage, at least in Europe, a deck that has seemed to struggle so far, but it's mostly struggled against itself. It just hasn't really been finding the draws it needed. That one last game from BoarControl against the Druid, I think, was a little bit more decision-based. And then we've seen from some of Wama's games, for example, where he's just had the double potion draw or not drawn a turtle all game or whatever it ended up being that really cost him. But Boar here now has an opportunity against the Demon Hunter, which can be a rough matchup, but you do play the cards in Turtle Mage to fight back against it. Frozen Shadow Weaver is absolutely one of them, and Boar has it in hand right now. Earthen Ring Farseer, Kartut Defender, these are the other key cards that you can really use to set up a clean win condition for yourself. The balancing act, though, and where this gets very difficult, is that you very often have to use some of those cards in the early game to even get to the turtle part of the game before you even start throwing one of them in to keep duplicating them infinitely.
Right. I was even just a little bit surprised there we didn't see the Imprisoned Observer come down instead, and then maybe wait for the Firebrand afterwards. But we are going to see this Firebrand get cleaned up pretty nicely from Felkeine, but it does also just lead to him not really progressing his own turn so far, just getting a hero power to the face.
Polkel on curve, this is a much more secure matchup to do it.
Yep.
Unlikely that the Demon Hunter can present massive boards turn after turn after turn that can punish you for actually drawing out of your potions, so putting yourself on the clock like this is a little bit better in this matchup, and Boar actually has a little bit slower hand to do that with as well, because he hasn't drawn any Blizzards yet, he hasn't drawn any Kartut Defenders yet, so those are still all in the deck waiting to be drawn, slowing down his potion clock.
Yeah, I definitely think you can overpower Demon Hunter as the mage, right? You can't necessarily do that in all the other matchups.
Yep.
But with Demon Hunter, I definitely agree that it's possible. Jandis is an option now.
Yes.
There is also, with that weapon equipped, the chance to go Shadow Weaver, but again, especially because it's the Eldraki Warblades, maybe that doesn't warrant a Shadow Weaver quite yet. And BoarControl can actually bank on that a little bit later in the game, potentially.
He's going to coin the Shadow Weaver here, though, use the Firebrand for the full clear, just really focusing on not taking damage through these early game turns, giving himself the security he needs to get to the turtle turns. It cost him the coin to do it, though, which does, of course, slow him down by that one turn.
Skull. He's gonna... Oh! Okay. A good chunk of cards.
Poor warlock.
Missing the discount on the Panthara, though, but discounted Altruis. It's taking me back, Raven. It's taking me back.
Also missing the Blade Dance as well. So many cards and no Shard Shatter or Blade Dance in Felkeine's hand yet, which... he really needs soon because he's just getting beaten up, actually. Or just like, can this just stick and I just lethal him next turn? No, is the answer.
Yes, it's going to have to be an Altruis turn, right?
It's not a bad one either, especially with that Soul Share pickup.
It's a really
to
good
help
one.
out, catch up on a lot of the health on the Polka.
Yes. Uh-oh.
That was a good turn.
Or at 9, Altruis in play, unanswerable, but the Solarian Prime is going to be the next draw, and there it is. Evo, nothing playable. Oh, Kartoot, both. Oh, okay. He had the potential to burn both Kartoot defenders there, which would have been insane. The Deep Freeze misses. Oh, no. I've never seen so many potentially good things just go horribly wrong for one player.
We're going to come down into game number 5.
That Deep Freeze single-handedly could have ended this game if it had gone face there against Felkeine and the Polymorph then landing on the Altruis, but he lost the 50-50, landed on the Altruis instead, and that let Felkeine just get over the line. And that one didn't look close, but I assure you it was. That was one turn away from Boar locking down that game with Kartoot defenders and then potions from the turtles and just going off from that point. So Felkeine needed to get himself over the line. And as I said, discounted Ultra has taken me all the way back to the glory days of Demon Hunter, where that card was an absolute terror when the class was first added, when we got our 10th class for the very first time, and Demon Hunters, aggro Demon Hunters, just terrorized the ladder for what seemed like months on end.
And that's one of the interesting things as well when it comes to how Soul Demon Hunter is built right now, is I spoke a little bit earlier on about the power of Magtheridon, where there's not really a card that can replace it and do the same job. The same can be said of Altruis, funnily with both 4 costs with some setup required.
Yeah.
But Altruis, again, like, if you don't run Altruis, there's no one card that allows you to do a turn like that, right? It just doesn't exist. So we just see in Demon Hunter, I think specifically right now, these like singular tech, I don't want to say tech choices, but kind of. Like the way the players are going about building these decks and making huge impacts, whether it's the Magtheridon or the Altruis or even just Penflingers we've seen time and time again have a huge impact. It's super fun just seeing different approaches to the same archetype just pay off in different ways as well. I don't think there's any strictly just bad cards that players have included in Grandmaster so far.
And so we come down to it, the battle for mage dominance. It's the Tempo Mage going up against the Turtle Mage. And this is a hotly contested matchup, honestly, because the Tempo Mage feels like it has all the tools it needs to be able to go way too quickly for the Turtle Mage in this matchup. But the problem that they run into is the complete lack of game-ending burn over the top, unless they're able to generate it somehow, right? Because if they don't straight up end the game early with, a bunch of blowout, Shemvala, Sorcerer's Apprentice, Mana Giant, Conjurer's Calling, all of those kinds of turns, if they don't get that out early and they start running into the freezes, how do they actually end the game without their minions being able to attack in most scenarios?
Yeah, it's very difficult, isn't it? And there aren't even that many, all of the Tempo Mage we've cast, which is a ton.
Yes.
There aren't that many games where even within all of those, that players have generated a significant amount of burn, right?
Right.
There's the odd fireball, the odd Apexis blast, the odd pyroblast even, but that often isn't enough. It's like 10 damage. Well, Mage is going to heal for more than that, right? With the cartons or whatever, so it can be very, very difficult indeed. Felkeine even going for this early Shambhala to try and stick it, even though there is this Firebrand in the hand.
Felkeine just says you don't have a spell in your hand, which is fairly reasonable to assume in this situation when you're playing against Turtle Mage. Does end up getting blown out by the Firebrand. That's a pretty big risk and a very, very brave one in the scenario, but it certainly has reasoning behind it, especially with the curve that Felkeine can support it with.
Okay, now you don't have a spell. 1 mana Firebrand Nova.
Yep. Oh, second Blizzard! Only 1 freeze left remaining in the deck at this point.
And this is, we touched on it a little bit earlier, but these kinds of draws, these kinds of games, are what's keeping Turtle Mage in check, right? If Turtle Mage was any more consistent, it would be the best deck ever seen in Hearthstone. But there are plenty of times where these draws happen. I can't decide whether Felkeine is upset or happy at that outcome, honestly, after now seeing a potion and a Nova being played out already.
Yeah. That's the thing, like when you play against Turtle Mage, you quite often don't appreciate how bad a situation they're in based on, you know, some of the cards that they've already drawn.
Yeah.
Which are really putting them in tense situations. You know, you just see the bad thing happening to you.
Okay, is that some kind of ray of hope here? BoarControl at least having a Tortolan in his hand for this coming up to turn 8. Or having 2, sorry, so he can play 1 out if he needs to for defense and then have the second one ready to go.
Right. But again, you do generally have to make it all the way to 10 mana for ultimate safety. And now the Mana Giant is going to come into play, which requires attention pretty much every turn. Or might be able to tank it once or twice. He could just go fishing here.
He's got blizzards for days.
He could just go fishing here with the One Thief.
Could even blizzard first into One Thief, right? And just have the spell for next turn. I guess this is as small as a giant board's ever going to be.
Icicle.
Ooh. I think he would preemptively Icicle. Probably not, right? Because Ping does 1. Icicle only does 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, with just 1/8/8 on the board, this is the weird to say, but least damage he's going to probably take for the foreseeable future. So take this and then freeze going forward. It makes sense.
Exactly. Oh, no! Are you kidding me, Raven? That's right, this is your fault.
Yeah, I for a second there I was like, what did I do now? Insane, just a casual 12 extra damage out of nowhere. I don't even know what to say, mate. Even Felkeine was blown away. He actually got blown back further into his chair after seeing those 2 Alakirs.
It's a
fireball. He's just got a fireball. What did I say about burst? Sometimes it's just a fireball. Well, now it looks like a fireball might well be enough.
Go Pilgrim Frost Nova into Blizzard, and then the second Pilgrim is set up. Raz now as well! Boar needs healing. He needs healing to throw into these turtle combos, or he's not going to make it.
Here's my question, Sol. From Felkeine's point of view, should he fireball the Tortolan?
I wonder.
No. I don't think it's relevant.
Okay. Because there is a fear that the second Tortolan then can start the multi-chain with 1 already on board. But if that doesn't make enough of an impact, then he can save this fireball.
Yeah, like I don't think that's where the game state's at, right? Because even if Felkeine doesn't find burn off all this generation, he still has ping over a few turns into fireball kill the opponent! Alakir again! Alakir troublemaker! What?
Sources of
Excuse
3
me?
damage! It's just going to be lethal, isn't it? Bot. There we go. What a way to end this game. What a way to end this series. Felkeine goes up to a 4-2 score in this season of Grandmasters. BoarControl takes another loss that, quite frankly, he could not really afford to take. But Sottle, what the heck was the ending of that game? Allocate into allocate into, guess what? Troublemaker, even more damage. I've never seen anything like it. And I've cast a lot of Hearthstone in my years.
He was at 30.
A turn ago?
There was a mana giant on the board. He was at 30. He made a smart decision that he could tank 8 because he was at 30 and he needed to stretch out his resources and his freezes as long as he could. One more time. He was at 30. And then 3 Alakirs and a Troublemaker appeared from a Conjurer's Calling. Like, that is such a heartbreaking way to go out for BoarControl in this position. But, like, if you are like me,